Where's my money, Sarah?
A blind girl named Sarah was in the bath, completely unaware that a strange man was secretly observing her. Finishing up, she reached for her towel, but the man snagged it with a knife, pulling it toward her. For a moment, she assumed it was her husband, but the intruder just retreated. Sarah ventured into her kitchen, where she discovered someone's corpse sprawled on the floor, obviously just murdered. Shortly after, she slipped on something and fell hard. As she touched the body with her searching hands, she horrifically realized that it was her husband, Ryan. Then, screaming her husband's name, she began to sob uncontrollably. Overcome with terror at her husband's death, she bolted from that room. And in her frantic escape, she collided with the man. After the collision, Sarah shoved him, demanding, "What do you want? And did you kill my husband?" The killer, however, said nothing, and instead started hurling things around to frighten her. He then seized a book and slammed it down violently, which terrified Sarah immensely, and she fled towards her bedroom. And inside, she slammed the room's door shut. She frantically pulled out her laptop, about to record a voice message to her friend, desperately asking for help. But just then, the killer shattered the glass to get inside and threw Sarah to the ground. He then brandished a knife, threatening to end her life. Before long, she was tied fast to the bed while the killer began searching her house. But his search for something specific yielded nothing, so his attention returned to Sarah. Now he started smearing blood all over Sarah's feet. His hands, however, began to move a little further upward, to which Sarah screamed at the top of her lungs, shouting, "Get your hands out of there!" But he only straightened his neck in response. Sarah then pleaded that the rope was far too tight, and because her hands were in pain, she cried out loudly. She began demanding that he untie the bindings. The killer now considered what harm a blind girl could possibly inflict on him. It was for this reason he undid Sarah's hands. He then informed Sarah that her husband was a thief, and that he possessed something belonging to him. He demanded to have that specific thing back. If Sarah handed him that object, he would depart without causing any harm. He then demanded to know where her husband had stashed the money. Sarah insisted that she knew nothing about all this. She only knew her husband worked as an investor. The moment the killer heard this, he grabbed her face and threatened, "If you don't tell me where the cash is, I'll gouge your eyes out." Then Sarah requested permission to go change her clothes, because a deep chill was setting into her bones. Then, a phone suddenly rang, and the killer began speaking into the phone. On the call, he explained that he had tried to retrieve the item, but Ryan had resisted him. That is why, to protect himself, he ultimately killed Ryan. And now they would retrieve that item through his sightless wife. Here, Sarah managed to grab a camera and conceal it behind her. Now the killer had finished his phone call and approached her. He then threatened, "If you have no desire to die, then you will tell me right now where the money is. This is better for us both. I don't want to kill you." He barely finished his sentence. Before he could, Sarah struck him with the camera and began sprinting away from there immediately. She knew the layout of that house perfectly. That is why she started descending the main staircase. The killer also began to give chase after him, but Sarah somehow managed to run out onto the road, and she began screaming for assistance from anybody. She ran back and forth and begged people to contact the police. Soon, people's attention was finally being drawn to her. Then a bald man appeared there. He showed the surrounding people his police ID. His name was Robert. He assured everyone he would handle the situation. Then from afar, the killer was also witnessing all of this. Then Sarah explained the whole ordeal to Robert. He then radioed the police team immediately and gave them the location of Sarah's house. And he stressed that he required backup as soon as it was possible. After that, Robert escorted her back toward the building where everything had happened. He then explained to Sarah that they would need to wait for the police team's arrival. In that same moment, Sarah recognized the killer's voice, and the killer stepped out into the open. Sarah told Robert in a panic that he was the one. Robert then replied that, "Yes, I know." Then the two men forced her inside the lift. Sarah then understood that Robert was also in league with the killer. He took Sarah right back up to the penthouse again. This time, Robert explained to her that Sarah's husband and them had once been friends. They had pulled off an incredibly large heist together, but her husband had absconded with all of the money. That is why her husband was killed trying to recover that money. Then Sarah remained completely silent. The killer then began to brutalize Sarah. He shoved her violently. because Sarah had managed to break his head open. But Robert's attention was then caught by the wall, drawn to a picture, which had a very peculiar appearance to it. He said, while halting the killer, "There is absolutely something hidden inside this photo." The killer then quickly pulled down the strange painting. Robert then started ripping the painting's backing apart, and as soon as he looked, a huge amount of cash fell from it. Millions of dollars poured right out from it, a sight which made them both very happy. Then Sarah pleaded that you have what you came for. So please, can you both just get away from here? Then Robert warned that before the night was over, if she dares tell anyone about this, then she will certainly be killed, because we are leaving this city. After this, he collected all the money and they silently departed. The moment they were gone, Sarah bolted the door shut. Then, in the absolute anguish of losing her husband, she collapsed against a pillar, and she began to weep with all her might. She stayed there until dusk, but she abruptly stood up and started rushing toward the door. She was just about to unlock the gate. That's when Robert slammed the door, and he asked Sarah how she figured it out, that they were still present inside the house. Then Sarah explained that after going blind, her own sense of smell had heightened. That's why she recognized them by their scent. And after saying this, she made a break for it. But they still refused to let her escape. They continued to torment her. Now Robert started striking Sarah with a cane. Then he noticed a locket hanging around Sarah's neck, and he instantly ripped it off. He then demanded who had given her this locket. Then Sarah replied that her husband had presented it to her. He then clutched Sarah's throat tightly, and he snarled, "I want 30 diamonds. And there's only a single diamond inside this locket." In truth, their goal was never to steal the money. They are after those 30 diamonds, whose total value is $20 million. Sarah swore that she did not know where the diamond was. Then Sarah's pet cat wandered nearby. Robert snatched it up, and he asked her the very same question again. Sarah pleaded that he shouldn't do anything to that helpless animal. She honestly doesn't know where the diamond could possibly be. After hearing this, Robert hurled that cat to the ground, and he said that if she doesn't speak, then she will also be murdered in that exact way. After the death of that cat, the killer became enraged. Because he was actually very fond of cats, they began to have an argument. But Robert placed a knife against her neck. He told her to sit down comfortably. Seizing this unexpected opportunity, Sarah instead climbed onto the roof, and hearing the sound of a chopper, she began pointing frantically with her hands. As it happens, police choppers are constantly moving, working to stop crime. The pilot saw Sarah from above. That is why the chopper began flying towards Sarah. But just then, Robert came up from behind, and he pressed a gun to Sarah's waist, saying, "Do exactly as I say. If you try to do anything foolish, then you will be shot." Now, the moment the chopper got close, Robert suddenly started kissing Sarah, and then they both began waving hi to the officer. This display made the officer assume that this was a couple, who was likely just very happy this evening. After witnessing them, the chopper flew away. Then Robert dragged Sarah back inside, and he resumed torturing her. Sarah then told him that Ryan had a secret safe, which was located beneath the floor. Perhaps that diamond is inside it. Following this, the two of them started to open the safe. During this, the killer went to get Sarah some water. Then Sarah asked, "What do you suppose? After getting 20 million in diamonds, your partner will actually let you live? He is never going to divide those diamonds. That is why you would be wise to kill him first." But the killer simply ignored her, and he walked away from there. Then, when they both managed to open the hidden safe, they discovered that there was not a single diamond inside, only a card. Upon seeing this, Robert became furious, and he tied Sarah down to a table to continue his torture. Then he placed a towel over Sarah's face, and he began pouring water all over her. This made it nearly impossible for Sarah to breathe, and she started to suffocate. But right then, the front doorbell rang. It then became clear that it was Sarah's sister and her husband, who had come over to visit her tonight on account of New Year. Robert then warned that she must send them away. Otherwise, he would have to kill them as well. The two men then went into hiding, and Sarah went to open the door. Sarah's sister happened to be pregnant, and they both insisted on coming inside. But Sarah explained that she was having a fight with Ryan. This simply was not a good time. That's why Sarah asked them to please come back later. Hearing this, her sister's husband still attempted to push his way inside, because he really wanted the issue to be resolved. But his wife's stomach then began to hurt badly, because she was quite far along in her pregnancy. So to get her to the hospital as quickly as possible, They both hurried away from there. Then Sarah tearfully closed the door behind them. Now the killer requested a drink from Robert. To this he said yes, but put a lot of extra ice in it. Now Robert promised Sarah that he desired no more bloodshed. After he found the diamond, he would leave from here. Then Sarah revealed to him that one night ago, Ryan had been on the balcony the entire night. When he finally returned to their bed, then the distinct smell of mud was on his hand. Maybe the diamond is hidden in the planter kept on the balcony. Robert then forced her out onto the balcony, and he began examining the planter very carefully. And here, while the killer was getting the ice to prepare the drink, he noticed a gleaming diamond inside one ice cube. He swiftly snatched that particular cube. He melted the ice cube down and began to extract the diamond. And in this manner he removed all the diamonds from inside the cube. Here, Robert began losing his temper with Sarah, because he still had not found that diamond. Robert's gaze then fell upon the killer while yelling at her. Robert was an extremely sharp man. He sensed something was wrong. Now the killer brought Robert his drink, but he had concealed a knife behind his back. In truth, the killer had taken Sarah's words to heart, that Robert would never let him live. So now his intention was to kill Robert and keep all of the diamonds for himself. But Robert flatly refused to accept that drink, because he insisted that he wanted much more ice in his drink. But the killer claimed that the ice had melted, and while saying this, he lunged in an attempt to attack Robert. But Robert then shot him, because he had already been prepared for just such an attack. Then Robert retrieved the diamonds from his former partner's pocket. Now he possessed 20 million in diamonds. But Sarah then stabbed him from behind. She was about to make her escape from there, but the door would strangely not open from there. Robert then came and grabbed her, and he started to choke her violently. He was just about to murder her, but then Robert came and caught her, and the killer then attacked him again. And taking advantage of this chaotic opportunity, Sarah began running up towards the terrace. There, she accidentally stumbled with her foot, and she kicked the diamond pouch. Here, Robert killed the other man without mercy. Now he started heading to the terrace to capture Sarah. But then Sarah clearly heard the sound of his footsteps, and she shot him. But somehow Robert survived. He realized that Sarah's aim was remarkably precise. That's why he became too scared to move. But at that exact moment it turned 12 o'clock, and fireworks exploded for the New York festival. In the end, Sarah was disoriented by the sound of the fireworks, and Robert knew that she would not be able to hear his voice. But then Sarah used her wits and threw one diamond down and started threatening to throw every single diamond. That is why Robert quickly came and grabbed her hand, the one which held the diamonds. And Sarah then shot him and sent him falling off the building. Robert was killed. The cat then walks past his body, the one Robert had discarded, meaning the cat was alive. And here Sarah possessed diamonds worth $20 million. She places the diamond back into the ice block, and at this point the movie concludes.